Welcome to Worth It or Worthless, a show where typically every couple weeks we pull a game from my own personal collection of retro games, take off our nostalgia-tinted glasses and decide, is the game good by today's standards, and is it worth the price of admission? We talk about what the game does well, what the game doesn't do so well, and the things that are just plain weird. I'm your host, Dan, joined as always by my friend Jordan. Jordan, what did we do today? What happened? Where are we at?
Guys, it's happened again. Today, we are unfortunately coming to you live from Yoshi's Island. We were flying home, and our plane crashed. And the bad news is everybody else on the plane died, and the plane killed all the Yoshis. The good news is that Dan and I and our Super Nintendo game collection survived.
Yes.
And so today, we're going to be walking you through our top 15 Desert Island Super Nintendo games. Now, let's just make something clear before we start. This is not what we think are the top 15 best Super Nintendo games. These are the 15
Correct.
games we'd want to be stuck on a desert island with.
So we had the forethought to pack a solar-powered SupaBoy, which is a portable Super Nintendo console.
Yeah.
And we only had space in our bag for 15 games. So these are the 15 that we brought on our vacation.
Oh, no, it wasn't really
together.
a vacation.
Oh.
We just noticed that the video game market keeps going up and up and up. And so I finally convinced Dan to liquidate his entire collection. And we were actually on our way to a buyer to sell all this stuff.
Well, actually, Jordan, this event is taking place from 2006. So it's like a Back to the Future thing. So
I
this
forgot
was
to
before the
mention-
retro gaming market had lost their minds.
I forgot to mention that we have a time machine, and we were going back in time to buy these games before they were expensive, and then we were going to sell them in the future. So I hope that you've wrapped your mind around all of the backstory of this list of 15 Super Nintendo games, because you're going to need it. You need to remember all of those plot points as we go forward.
Nintendo made a game on the DS called Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. I think it was DS. It might have been the Game Boy Advance. One of the Mario RPGs is Partners in Time. This is Dan and Jordan Partners in Time.
Okay.
Where you bounce back and forth from the Back to the Future to the desert island.
I think if I actually had a time machine, I would be using my time crystals on something much more lucrative than video games.
Really?
Yeah, like, I don't know, going back and buying Amazon stock, or I don't know, looking at scores of big sports games and betting on them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like recently I was kind of thinking about video games, the market of gaming, and the hobby of collecting games versus like cards or comics or like other things that people collect. And it's kind
Cats are a thing that people collect.
Some people, yeah. And it's interesting that relatively speaking, and obviously these days it's getting different with all the headlines of like these crazy graded games that are being sold. But generally speaking, collecting video games is a lot cheaper than like most other hobbies. It's like, oh, I'm going to go buy this $500 Charizard card or this $50,000 Charizard card or these like really old comics. Whereas some of the most expensive like games that you can collect are like a couple grand, which relatively speaking is a cheap hobby compared to a lot of others, which is interesting to me.
A cheap hobby compared to other collecting hobbies.
Yes.
It's not a cheap hobby compared to like bowling.
Well, no. I was specifically talking about collecting, Jordan.
Oh.
Other things that people collect.
Okay, so if you have the hoarder gene and you're gonna collect something, you might as well collect video games. That's what you're saying?
Well, yeah. It's not a bad. You're going to do better for your money in the video game market.
I think if you want the best bang for your buck on collecting things, collect romance novels, because I'm a big fan of used bookstores and library sales, and there's usually like one, maybe two books that I'm interested on the sci-fi, fantasy, or fiction shelves. But they have shelf after shelf after shelf of romance novels for like pennies.
Yeah.
So if you were really into like wanting to just have a lot of stuff, best bang for your buck, romance novels. Second best thing, video games.
Yeah. Maybe not the second best thing, but certainly a thing that could be worse.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's on its way there. So all right, Jordan. So just for prefacing, we said this is not the 15 best games in our opinion, but also these are in alphabetical order, not in order of goodness or importance.
Yes, alphabetical order. It's the most fair way to do it. You're not trying to rank them because that would just be an exercise in futility.
Yes.
Argue a lot.
Also, this list is a combination. Some of them are my picks. Some of them are Jordan's picks. Some of them are picks that we agree on.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a sort of well-rounded worth it or worthless list.
I like most of the things that made it on the list.
Most of the things. Okay, I see you.
Yeah,
We'll
get there. We'll get there.
All right, Jordan, let's get into our list.
Number one on the list, alphabetically speaking, is Donkey Kong Country. Mm-hmm. And we had a little bit of a back and forth here on whether to pick the first one or the second one. Yeah. I don't really have much experience with the second one, so we agreed. Let's just go with the first one where it all started, Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah. So this seems like an obvious choice to me.
I think so, yeah. Can't imagine many people would argue with this choice.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. I think the second one may be a better game overall, but I can't say for sure. Donkey Kong Country 1, we played, last summer for the show, I think?
It was episode 49. Okay.
So we really liked it. There's a ton of secrets. There's a good soundtrack. It's a good game. You got co-op mode. I feel like this is a good game for us to bring to the island overall.
Yeah, I think there's a good mix of challenge and fun. Mm-hmm. The game is fun. It's easy enough that you're not going to be wanting to smash your head with a coconut. But there is some challenge there. If you wanted to really draw out the life of this game while you're stuck on the desert island, you could try to find all the hidden bananas and secrets and stuff and get that 101%.
Oh, I forgot about is it just 101?
It's 101%. And then in Donkey Kong Country 2, there's 102%. And then in Donkey Kong Country 3, could you guess it, Dan?
100%.
103%. Yeah, there's definitely some challenge there that can keep you coming back.
It's so interesting to me. Symphony of the Night comes to mind because in that game you can get I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's 212 or 217%.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you do a percentage at that point?
Well, so you play the game once and then the castle turns upside down.
Okay.
So that's where the 200% comes in, but then there's a bunch of beyond 100% secrets, which I'm all right. So Donkey Kong Country apparently did the same thing.
Yeah, I gotta wonder if the developers did that on purpose or if they were just bad at math and forgot how many secrets they created.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta wonder. You gotta wonder because that's not how percentages work.
No, it's not at all.
Jordan, number 2 on the list, Final Fantasy 3/6. Final Fantasy 6.
Final Fantasy 6, but it's
called Final Fantasy 3
here
in the US on Super Nintendo.
This is always so confusing to me. I don't understand why they did this.
Aren't there at least two, maybe 3 of these games from the Final Fantasy series where they're it's not called the same thing in the West?
I think so. That sounds right, yeah.
It's ridiculous. But Jordan, I picked this one.
You did.
Because we played Final Fantasy 7. I enjoyed it. You didn't. But one of the things that game did for me was open me up to not only more JRPGs, but the Final Fantasy franchise.
Yeah, I remember in our NES Desert Island list, you were very skeptical of my choice to bring Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that you are the one who put this on the list. I notoriously didn't have a great time with Final Fantasy VII. If you want to hear about that, go back to episode 61.
You probably don't.
It's one of our top 10 episodes. People seem to like we had a good conversation, but it did leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. Yeah. However, I do understand the desire to bring a long RPG to the desert island to keep you busy. Something that is well loved by many people, can kind of stretch you and make you see why do people love this game so much.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the length specifically because I was it's an RPG. We should probably figure out how long we're going to be playing this on the desert island. I looked up the how long to beat time. 64 and a half hours for the completionist time of
for
Final
a Super
Fantasy
Nintendo game. Wow.
3/6. We'll just call it Final Fantasy VI. So what Final Fantasy did for me, 7, did was like, oh, I want to go check out Earthbound now. And now I want to check out these other, it like made me far more open to JRPGs in general, where when I was a kid with an NES, I didn't understand what like a role-playing game was, or like these text-based things. Pokemon was the first like text-based, turn-based thing that I ever tolerated. So
they tricked us all into like liking RPGs somehow.
Yeah. So Final Fantasy was kind of my arch nemesis. It was like the quintessential thing that I was like, no, I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy. So I've really come around since giving Final Fantasy VII an honest shot. And so that's why this made the list, is because I'm like, I want this game to be something that I experience, because a lot of people really like it. So
see, now I totally understand your desire to put this on this list. I think if I was going to pick a JRPG to like fill up a lot of time, I would probably go with something a little bit more hyped up, like Chrono Trigger. I haven't played either of these games, but I see people talk about that all the time. But that's just me. I don't know anything about either game, so who knows?
You think Chrono Trigger is more hyped than Final Fantasy VI?
Well, yeah, people talk about it all the time. It sells for $1 gazillion.
All right, well, let us know. What is the more quintessential JRPG for the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, that's great.
Is it Final Fantasy VI, or is it not Chrono Trigger, or something else?
Could be something else. All right, next on the list is not a JRPG. It's one of Dan's picks, and he's got Gradius III.
Yeah, so I was looking through my Super Nintendo games, doing my homework for this episode. I was like, what am I bringing? I'm looking. I was like, I liked Gradius 3 the last time I played it. What is it? And then I put it in. I was like, oh man, I like this game. This is fun. It's challenging. When you're not powered up, you get powered up. It feels really good. It's 2 players, not simultaneously, as I found out today.
Really?
Which is really dumb, because it wasn't Life Force like co-op, like proper co-op.
Life Force was proper co-op in the fact that you could have 2 people play it, which, if you're confused about what Life Force is,
Salamander?
AKA Salamander,
Yeah.
It's an NES game that we covered back in episode 15.
But both players are on the screen at once.
We're both on the screen at the same time. It is a spin-off of Gradius, which is why Dan's mentioning it. It's basically the exact same game, just with a different name. But when you say proper co-op, I'd say no, because the game ran so poorly in 2-player mode that we could hardly even stay alive in an already difficult game.
So maybe that's why Gradius 3 doesn't have like proper co-op.
They were like, we don't want to sacrifice the actual frame rate for 2 people on screen.
I know.
I like the idea of bringing Gradius 3. I played a lot of Gradius, the first one, when the NES Switch Online service first launched. I was like, I like a good shoot 'em up. I like the upgrade system that Gradius uses. So I don't think I've played Gradius 3, but I like the idea of bringing it.
One of the really cool things about Gradius 3 is, so like you start the game, then it's like, all right, well, what weapon system do you want to choose?
Oh.
And you get different lines of upgrades. And if you don't like any of that, you can go to I think edit mode, and then kind of pick and choose.
Build your own skill tree.
Build your own skill tree is kind of how it is. So it's like if you like some of the power-ups from one tier, but you really don't like the last power-up or something, you can just like tweak it. So it's a good shoot 'em up. I have a feeling I'm gonna want to do a podcast on it at some point.
Yeah, it's been a while since we played like a classic spaceship shoot 'em up.
But it kind of, I don't want to say it surprised me, but it unexpectedly found its way on this list. When I played it, I was like, yes, all right, we're bringing this. This makes me happy.
Nice. You got to bring stuff that makes you happy if you're going to be stuck on a desert island.
Speaking of things that make people happy, next game's Kirby Superstar. Jordan, you're a big Kirby fan.
I'm a big Kirby fan. When I was a kid, I had Kirby's, was it the first one on Dreamland? Kirby's Adventure?
He's a big Kirby fan.
Well, okay, a big Kirby fan is...
Fan of the character.
Yeah.
Fan of when he sees drawings where he's got feet.
No, I don't like that. Those weird Kirby drawings
without shoes or whatever.
I had the first Kirby game on Game Boy, and something that I think is cool about Kirby Superstar is that it has that Game Boy game built into it.
Does it?
Yeah, if you've never
played full on.
It's missing a couple boss fights.
Okay.
They shortened it a tiny bit, but it's basically the entire Game Boy game, which is like only a 40-minute game anyway.
Okay.
So they took out some stuff, and it goes faster because you have the new power-ups and stuff, which you don't have. Anyway, Kirby Superstar has 7 different game modes, 2 mini games. Like I said, it has that remake of Dreamland.
Yeah.
It has like a Kirby Metroidvania kind of thing. You're doing like this cave exploration thing that's like a mini Kirby Metroidvania. There's a Kirby racing game, which admittedly isn't great. You can play Kirby co-op, which, if you want to play with a friend, you suck in a bad guy.
Say that 7 times fast.
Poop him out, and now your friend can run around and be the little co-op guy. It's not too hard, which Kirby games are notoriously easy. And this one fits into that mold. But it's a game that I personally want to dig into more. I do love Kirby games. I never have sat down and played through this one.
Yeah.
All the way. If you beat all of the worlds, you unlock a special world called the Arena, where it's basically just a giant boss gauntlet.
Yeah.
So I think that I could put some hours into this. I would want to spend more time with it. So if I'm going to be stuck on a desert island, might as well bring Kirby Superstar.
It's interesting that you are bringing this game. Because there's something about it. I had this game, I think it was Kirby Superstar Ultra on the DS.
Yes,
and
which
now,
I think it's pretty much the same thing. They just added an extra 2 worlds. I think it just got
updated or something. This, I believe, is on the Switch Online service.
Yes, it is.
Whatnot. So I've played this game a bit. I think I played it also when we covered Kirby on the podcast earlier this year.
Yep.
But there's something about it that has never quite gotten its hooks in me. And as I was trying to articulate my thoughts, I was almost like, and this isn't like a literal comparison, this is just kind of like a relative comparison. It almost feels like a WarioWare version of Kirby, where it's like it's all of these things instead of it being one thing. And I don't know if that's why I never gravitated towards it, because I don't really know what it is. But there's just something about Kirby Superstar where I'm like, It's
not the most coherent Kirby game, that's for sure. And the mini games are definitely WarioWare-esque micro games. They're not really mini games.
Yeah.
So I can see why you're saying that.
I wasn't literally talking about that.
No,
I just meant in the way that it's like the sporadic sort
You're
of.
right. I get what you're saying. I think there's definitely some merit to that. I want to bring it because I want to explore it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear more of our thoughts on Kirby, you can go back to episode 60.
Again, you probably don't.
Which I had lots and lots of great things to say about Kirby's Adventure on the NES, and Dan couldn't find enough problems with it.
That's not true. I like the game. It just runs poorly. It's one of the worst running NES games
We're not
I've ever
going to
played.
rehash this discussion. You can hear
Apparently we are. We're on the desert island. We're having a fight.
Oh, I shouldn't have brought this game.
That'll come later. Jordan, our next game, one of the reasons that this show exists, it sort of sowed some of the seeds of our retro gaming friendship relationship. Knights of the Round.
Knights of the Round for the Super Nintendo. It's one of our favorite
They're all for the Super Nintendo. Just never mind.
Well, I'm just saying,
Carry on.
Knights of the Round.
Never mind.
It started as an arcade game. We're talking about specifically the Super Nintendo.
Our Desert Island arcade cabinets that we're bringing.
We absolutely 100% need to do that eventually because that would be a lot of fun. But it's one of our favorite beat 'em ups, like Dan said, and I would love to actually get good enough at this to beat the final boss together. We have beaten the final boss on like the arcade version because you have infinite lives, but I want to actually get good enough at the Super Nintendo version to beat that final boss.
Well, that's one of the things that I have written down about it is like it's not only like a co-op game with like an interesting leveling up system, but it's actually kind of difficult to beat.
Yeah.
Which I think you kind of need if you're going to be playing a solar powered SupaBoy for the next whoever knows how long till we get rescued, if we ever get rescued.
Yeah.
So it'd be fun to...
There are some people who say that beat 'em up games don't have a lot of replay value, that maybe it's not the best choice for a desert island because they're kind of shorter. They tend to be shorter games. We do have some other beat 'em up games on this list that I would say fall more into those criticisms. But this one, since it has that higher level of difficulty, especially as the difficulty ramps up near the end, I like the idea of bringing it because I want to be able to get good enough to beat it.
I don't know if I like what you're saying about the other beat 'em ups that we got, Jordan. But
we'll get there.
Will we?
Yeah, we will. Speaking of Knights of the Round, if you want to know more about what that game is about, we covered it back in episode 30 of the podcast.
Oh, man. The good old days. We weren't even... How long were we... I don't even know. Doesn't matter.
Don't make me math.
Next game on the list. I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't bring Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is an all-time classic.
Yes.
I can't say that I personally can say that because I haven't managed to play through the whole thing yet, although it is on my list, yet we were actually supposed to have covered it last month. No?
Nope.
No?
Not Link to the Past.
What are we talking about?
We were talking about Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening. See, I can't even tell what game we're talking about.
Jordan.
It's a Zelda game. Link's in it. He's either in the past or he's waking up. Apparently, I don't have...
He's either a small boy or a big boy.
Apparently, I don't have any idea.
Calamity Ganon is coming to the Dark World. You never know what's going to happen in these games.
I literally didn't realize that this was a different game than the one that I have on Switch. So I'm going to say, take it away, Dan, because I have no clue about this game.
Well, just to clarify, because of your injuries last month.
Let's just blame those. I did get smushed in the head, you guys.
Yes. So Jordan... being injured sort of threw a wrench in some of the plans for the podcast. We were going to cover Link's Awakening, and we put the interview out in lieu of an extra podcast because of Jordan's injuries. So we didn't get to Link's Awakening last month.
No.
So here we are talking about this. Link to the Past, though,
is a different game.
It's a great Super Nintendo game. It's an all-time classic, probably one of the best Super Nintendo games in a lot of people's opinions.
Oh, I have played. I have played a little bit of this. I remember because it's on the Switch Online service.
Yes,
right?
It is, and on like everything else.
And like
too.
You start and you go into. You have to get into the castle.
That's yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I've played like at least the first 20 minutes of this game.
But yeah, this is one of the best 2D Zelda games. Just full stop as well. This was before. Was Ocarina of Time the one that came out after this one? I think it might have been.
I'm sure
you're the historian here.
Nope, that's not me. I don't even know what game we're talking about.
Definitely the historian.
I guarantee you there was some like Game Boy game that came out between this and that because they were just cranking out Zelda Game Boy games at this time on the Game Boy.
But yeah, one of the things I think that makes Link to the Past special, one of the thoughts that I had as I was kind of processing was it's kind of like what Super Metroid is to the original Metroid. I feel like Link to the Past kind of is to the original Zelda.
It just took it to the next level.
Yeah, it just expanded it and sort of, I don't want to say it's cemented its place as like the legendary franchise that it is, because Legend of Zelda was certainly legendary in its own right, but it definitely improved the franchise in a pretty big way, in my opinion.
Do you know, this came out after Link's Awakening.
Probably.
Yeah, and I think that
I can't speak to Link's Awakening. I have memories of it as a kid, but I haven't played the remake or anything.
I played the first few hours of the remake, and I feel like that definitely laid the groundwork for
probably
2D Zelda games.
Probably.
But as you know, obviously the Super Nintendo has way more power to do stuff than the Game Boy did. So yeah, we're going to have to play these games, and we're going to get back to you guys with all of our thoughts and feelings.
Link's Awakening and Link to the Past are both on the future worth it or worthless list. Yes. It's just a matter of when, like this isn't a thing, but it might be at some point. If we talked about doing Ocarina of Tober as an October theme at some point, don't think that's happening. It's not happening this year.
Oh, okay.
October of time.
You guys need to understand.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to work with these Zelda.
If you want us to cover a game, you really just need to come up with a pun that tickles Dan's fancy, because that's the only way we book games around here is based on Dan's puns.
I've actually, I for the next couple months, I'm like, I think I want to lay off the puns so that I can like just not have to shoehorn certain games into the show and like
just cover stuff that we want to cover based on their merit.
Yeah, kind of like we used to do.
Yeah, sounds great.
So SNES is going to be the last pun, maybe for a while, unless I come up with something I really love and can make it work for game ideas.
Guarantee you guys, we're going to head into October with something awful because he's going to think of something great and we're going to roll with it.
Yep. Jordan, the next game on the list
is highly questionable.
It's highly questionable. I was like, do you really want to bring this, Jordan? Like, are you sure that you want to put this on the list?
No, don't you dare.
Jordan was really, really adamant about this game being in one of the 15 games that if we only had 15 to bring, like, he really, really wanted this.
What's actually happening here is we've gotten like halfway through this list and Dan is realizing that he made a terrible mistake. If you want, we can just skip this and do 14 games.
No
and
chance.
I won't tell anybody what you
No
picked
chance.
and put on this list.
No chance.
All right, go for it.
We got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. Episode 0 of Worth It or Worthless. The first game that I ever chose to do a podcast about.
Yeah, so is this like solely based on nostalgia? You're going to
No.
really have to sell to me why this is making the top 15 Desert Island list.
Why is this? Because I played it like a few days ago and I was like, this is a fun game that I like, that I would be happy to play on a desert island.
Yeah, but Dan, you
Also, Jordan, you can't forget that it's featuring Ivan Ooze.
Okay, you have literally an entire bookshelf full of Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not full of Super Nintendo games.
Okay, there are a lot of Super Nintendo games.
There are a lot of games on the shelf. I don't even know if I have 100 Super Nintendo games, Jordan.
Okay, but you have around 100.
Maybe.
And
let me check.
This is making it. This is in the top 15% for you somehow.
I'm going to see if I can fact check that real quick. But you tell me why this is a great game,
This
Jordan.
is why this doesn't deserve to be on this list. First of all, we have 2 other beat 'em up games on the list already. That's too high of a percentage to bring to Desert Island.
Okay, semantics. It's not a beat 'em up.
Okay, Dan
according
claims
to my
this isn't a
definition.
beat 'em up because you don't have free range of motion up and down.
Yes.
There's 2 lanes. You're either on the bottom or you're on the top.
Yep.
Other than that,
Kind of like Guardian Heroes.
Other than that one thing of how you move, everything else is a beat 'em up. You're beating people up.
Yeah.
The thing that just blows my mind is we only a couple episodes ago covered Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie for Sega Genesis, and we both agreed that that was by far the better game.
No, we didn't. What are you talking about?
Absolutely we did.
No chance.
Are you the one who got smushed in the head?
Apparently.
I can't believe you right now. Dan, the Sega Genesis one was infinitely better.
Okay.
Other than the music.
All right, Jordan, I officially have a count. I don't know if it's accurate. I don't know if I've added all the things, but price charting says 51 games are in my Super Nintendo collection. It might be a few more than that. So 51. Yes, this is a top 51 game.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, no. So Power Rangers, the movie on Genesis, I think is worse in almost every way. Almost, maybe. No chance I would say the Genesis version is better. It's like a vanilla beat 'em up. The Genesis version of Power Rangers the movie is like bad pizza. It's still a beat 'em up. It's still like fine. You won't turn it down if it's what's there, but like no, man. No.
What is it about this game that's making you put this on the list?
Okay. So it's got co-op. It's got, it's proper.
Okay, that's almost every game on the Super Nintendo.
It's fun. It's unique. I mean,
How is it unique?
Maybe. How many other games that have like the weird Guardian Heroes style plane system, and you're starting as plain teenagers, and then you get your high schoolers. So pick your high schooler, and then you gotta get a morph. You gotta get the lightning bolts to morph. Morphin time, and then you turn into Power Rangers, and then you get more lightning bolts, and then when you fill your meter, you get the weapons, and then you do like a super attack, and you got the bosses, and you got Ivan Ooze. This is a good one. I like this game.
No.
I still like it. I played it the other day to make sure, because you were like, when we were discussing our initial list, you're like, no chance. And I was like, let me play this. And I was like, absolutely. Yeah, you got the nice uppercut mechanic, that you got like a backflip mechanic, the redodge. This is a good game,
many
guys.
better beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo.
Not in my head or my shelf.
Okay, well, this one
I mean,
you're going to be
fair
playing
enough.
by yourself.
Maybe Final Fight is a better game, but I don't have Final Fight.
Listen, well, I'll watch the opening cutscene with you, and I'm not
It's
playing
the
this
second
one.
level.
Whatever.
All right, we'll talk about your game now.
All right, next up on the list is NHL 94, because you need a sports game. You have to bring a sports game, so why not bring the best of the best?
So, since this isn't our Desert Island PS2, GameCube, Xbox list, we can't bring NHL hits.
Okay, I'm talking about the best of the best sports game
So,
on the Super Nintendo.
what I'm saying, Jordan, is if you can't bring hits, you might as well bring the other one that everybody likes, NHL 94.
Yeah, NHL 94.
That's it?
Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying for the Super Nintendo, it's the best game on the list.
What makes it better than NHL 95?
Oh my goodness. You guys, you can go back and listen. But did we have this exact discussion? Did I bring this on our Genesis Desert Island
I'm
list?
pretty sure you did.
Pretty sure I did.
Pretty sure you did.
Vertical scrolling. You got NHL teams and players. You got one-timers, which you didn't have before. Everything just feels so much better than earlier hockey games. It's a great time. If you want to rehash this whole thing, we can just go back to episode 45 and do the whole thing again. But I'm bringing NHL 94 because I want to be stuck on a desert island with the best hockey game made for the Super Nintendo.
I don't know, man. I think our good friend Better with Horns on Discord was telling me that NHL 94 is not as good as 95 and possibly 96. I don't know. I still don't get it.
We'll have to play it sometime.
Maybe we'll have to do like the NHL trilogy. We'll have to do an episode 94, 95, 96. We'll have to really dig into the brass tacks.
If you're gonna do it, then you got to
franchise.
play NHL PA 93 too and see
why.
Just so you can understand how it improved over what was before it.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it was so. This was number 7 on our top 10 Desert Island Genesis games. I just checked.
There you go.
So. Anytime we bring up NHL 94, I bring up the fact that I don't get it.
No, you don't get it in the same way I didn't get No Mercy or just wrestling games in general.
We can't even talk about that. Regardless, you're bringing NHL 94. I'm a fan of hockey games. We could do this. I'm not mad about it. We'll play.
You don't fully understand the reasoning behind that exact one, but you're happy with me bringing a hockey game.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So. Let's move on to another game that we both agree on.
Oh, man. Can we please?
Yeah, we're going to bring Sunset Riders because it's just a beloved childhood classic. This game makes me think of being at Pizza Hut and just playing Sunset Riders, eating some garlic bread, and just having a great time.
Getting grease all over the machine?
Yes, absolutely. It's not my machine.
No.
They get my quarters and my grease. That's what they get.
I feel uncomfortable thinking about you greasing up an arcade stick with pizza fingers.
It's an arcade machine in a pizza restaurant. Of course it's going to be greasy.
Unacceptable. It's one of my pet peeves, grease on controllers. Like, I'm that guy where I'm like, all right, guys, if people are at my house, like, all right, wash your hands before we play games.
Yeah, you can do that when it's your house and your controllers, but if you're Pizza Hut, you don't get a say. I gave you my money. I get to put my grease on your machine. Just deal with it.
But anyways, so yeah, Sunset Riders, it's like a less brutal version of Contra. You know, it's like it's got proper co-op. It's a good arcade port. It's just a fun, like, side-scrolling shooter.
It's got a lot of humor, a lot of character.
Yeah.
Some people call it Cowboy Contra. If you've never played Sunset Riders,
exactly, that's a good way of putting it.
You need to check it out. The arcade version is great. The ports are great. Episode 13, we really dig into all of the reasons why we love Sunset Riders.
The early days. Arcade Archives is on Switch. I don't know if it's on any other platform if you want to check out the arcade version specifically.
Ooh, look at that. Arcade version is good because you have infinite lives and you can see the whole game.
And I think it's 4 players, right?
Yeah, it should be.
So this only has 2 because Konami's like, what if we made really good arcade ports of our games, but we don't use the multi-tap? We only make them 2 players. What if we did that?
How many people actually had a Super Nintendo multi-tap?
Doesn't matter. Well, how many people would have if Konami would have done what they were supposed to and given us the proper 4-player versions of their games?
As a family that had 4 boys, our Super Nintendo only ever had 2 controllers. It wasn't until N64.
Exactly.
I think it's why N64 is so beloved in my family. Because we could finally all play together.
Yeah. So imagine if you would have had that like years earlier with the Super Nintendo.
Before the N64, the only like all 4 of us playing games at a time was on the NES playing track and field, where you'd like get 2 people hitting the thing at the same time trying to like make a guy run faster.
The multi-tap was severely underutilized for the NES and the Super Nintendo.
Anytime you're like charging extra money on top of an already expensive things, like how families aren't really going to go for that.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's like anything where if you have a compelling reason to do it, then maybe you're more likely to kind of get over the extra cost.
Yeah.
But anyways, Jordan, the next game on our list, we didn't even really like need to talk about this.
No, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's Super Mario All-Stars, the cartridge that comes with Super Mario World also.
Yes. So you have just a cartridge full of some of the greatest games that have ever been made.
Yeah.
Nintendo was not only was Super Mario All-Stars just like, oh, well, what if we put this on Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Genius idea, right? Then they were like, well, what if we stuff that same cartridge with Super Mario World and just make the ultimate cartridge in I don't know, gaming history.
Yeah, like is this cheating?
Insane.
Is this cheating?
No.
Probably, but
No.
we don't care. We don't care. It's an obvious choice.
Yeah.
Speaking of great deals, like again, you go back to
Oh yeah.
like families having limited income, and it's like if you're looking at a shelf, what are you going to pick? Of course, you're going to pick the one that comes with 4 full Mario games.
Yeah. Well, you have Mario 1, 2, 3, Lost Levels,
good
and
point.
Super Mario World.
5
games.
5
And
Mario
this might have been
games.
a pack-in at some point later in the life cycle. I'm not exactly sure the history of this particular cartridge, but either way, if you're going to take a Mario cartridge with you to a desert island, this is the one.
Yes. You gotta love it. If you want to know more about Mario Bros, we covered Super Mario Bros. 2 in episode 37 and Super Mario World back in episode 65.
Now, Jordan,
Yes.
the next game on the list is a game that you are bringing because you wanted a game for when we have a. So let's really just paint the scene.
Okay.
You and I have a nasty disagreement about the logistics of trying to get ourselves off of this island.
Okay.
And we have a blow up.
All right.
And you want to make sure that Dan is nowhere near you for a while.
Oh, okay.
And so how are you going to keep Dan away from you on this desert island?
By bringing Super Mario Kart.
Exactly.
Now, I thought that Super Mario Kart would be another obvious choice, but Dan hates this game for some reason that is completely unknown to mankind.
It actually is known to mankind. We recorded a podcast about it. So
yeah, that's true. You can actually hear all of Dan's feelings about Super Mario Kart back in episode 40. But like, if I'm on a desert island by myself or if I'm with somebody else, I want this game. I want to bring Super Mario Kart because it is a game that deserves to be on a desert island list. It's fun.
I don't know, man.
I love this game. If it's me and Dan stuck together, this is a bad choice. This is a
Yes.
bad choice. I agree. Because you, for some reason, have hatred in your heart towards this game.
It's not fun.
It is fun.
It's not fun.
Generations of human beings have said that this game is fun, and for some reason, you just abhor it.
Here's where I think I'm at. I was trying to like find a good way of articulating this earlier, but I couldn't really come up with one. If this was like the only exposure to the Mario Kart franchise that people ever had, I feel like Mario Kart, well, this could be wrong. I don't know. It's Nintendo, so it doesn't really count. But if it was another company that didn't make like Mario 60 or Super Mario Kart 64 and like Double Dash and didn't put one of these out every generation, if this was like their one shot at kart racing, I don't know that it would be well loved today.
Yeah, but
people like Mario Kart now because Mario Kart is fantastic now. But like if this was all we had, would we really like Mario Kart? I don't know.
Okay, I can kind of sort of see where you're going, but a big part of the reason why I love this game is because it is a racing game with these beloved characters. They took something that was an established franchise that people loved, and then they did a really good racing game.
I mean, really good according to some people. They took characters that nobody loved and made a racing game that seemed interesting.
Characters
for a
that
few minutes
nobody
I liked,
loved.
called F-Zero.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were about to say that
No.
nobody cared about Mario or Donkey
No.
Kong.
Let me finish what I'm saying, Jordan, because I did play F-Zero to be like, is that the better racing game to bring on this list? I don't
F-Zero
know.
might be a better single-player racing game. I'll go out
Well,
and
this
say
one's single
it
player
is
on a
better
desert island.
single-player racing game, but
You and I
F-Zero-
are on a desert island. This is absolutely a single player game, so that's all I'm saying about that.
I truly don't understand why you feel the way you feel about this game. I think it's because you're a very competitive person and I beat you in this game. I think if you had won all of the matches against me, you would have a very different feeling about this game.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I
I
do
feel
know.
like, okay, so this game moves like I feel like this game does not give me the level of control that I want in a video game.
It's a 16-bit racing game. It's not a F1 simulator.
So what? It's still, I don't think it's fun.
All right,
That's
whatever.
just me.
Let's move on to a game that we
It's the
both
worst
love.
of the franchise.
I don't want to argue with my friend.
We're calling this one Love? We got it's Love for the next one?
I think we both liked it. We said it was worth it.
The next one?
Do we have different things on our list? What do you got next?
Super Mario RPG.
Oh.
Are you jumping ahead?
I jumped ahead. I jumped ahead.
Okay, well, so let's jump ahead even more and say the next episode of the podcast
Yeah.
is Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
Just get that out of the way.
It is. So we're not going to say a whole lot about this game because both of us are still playing it. But I think that it deserves a spot on our Desert Island list because so far I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
It's a longer game, which is good to have on a desert island. And, like, I don't want to say too much because we'll have a full what does well, what it doesn't do so well next week. But I think that this deserves a spot on our Desert Island list.
So I am probably 8 to 10 hours deep in this game. And, like, some of my thoughts are that it has so much promise. I'm liking the story. I'm liking sort of the inventory and equipment systems. I'm liking pretty much every time I sit down to play this game, I've been having a good time with it. And so I'm like, yeah, all right, well, let's put this on the list because it seems like it has so much promise about maybe halfway through. So it just seems like a great RPG. I was talking earlier about my experience growing up with Final Fantasy and it being my arch nemesis and that whole thing. This game to me feels like an RPG that would have been a lot more interesting to me at a younger age.
Yes, I agree. And we'll dig more into this next week. But
we absolutely will.
It'll be very funny to see if the wheels completely fall off in the back half of this game and we come out next week or in 2 weeks and just completely hate this game.
I suspect it won't, but that's just, you never know. So Super Mario RPG, yeah, I mean, it's another RPG. Like, why wouldn't you want to bring some
You need
RPGs?
at least a couple. If we're bringing 3 beat-em-up games, we have to at least bring 2 RPGs.
No, we don't.
All right, well, he says we don't. All right, let's move on to the game that I thought was next, but actually is next now, Super Metroid.
Of course. I mean,
Super Metroid.
Another game kind of like, not kind of like Super Mario All-Stars or Link to the Past, but it's just another one where it's like when you're having the conversation about the greatest Super Nintendo games of all time and the greatest video games of all time, Super Metroid's in that conversation. It's a great game that, I don't know. What can we say about Super Metroid?
I love that we actually covered this game.
We need to talk about.
Yeah, I love that we covered it back in episode 42 because it's one of those games where I wouldn't have ever picked this up on my own.
Yeah,
I never would have forced myself to like play through the whole thing, but I'm glad that I did because once you like get into it and get like even towards the end of it and you start to like appreciate what it did and like the game that it is and how they managed to pull that off in. On the Super Nintendo, I think this game is awesome. There's a ton of replay, because you can go through and do it all different. I think it'd be interesting to play and see how this holds up on a desert island without internet to kind of like be there as a crutch for me to help me find like the random
infinite
stuff.
Replay value.
Yeah,
you'll never figure it out.
I think that would definitely be a different experience. Hopefully, we're crash landing with complete copies of these games that have manuals because I remember the manual being helpful in this game. But yeah, this game has to be on the list. We both had a good time with it.
Yeah.
It
spawned a genre that people still love today, Metroidvania. So, not a lot of games can say that they spawned a genre.
We wouldn't have had the great cave escape on Kirby Superstar if we didn't have Super Metroid.
Really? Is that what the
I don't know. I just saw somebody describing the great cave escape section of Superstar, Kirby Superstar as Metroidvania.
And Jordan, speaking of the greatest games on the Super Nintendo, the next one might actually be the best game on the Super Nintendo. I think that's not a very debatable point. I think most people on the internet are bringing the next one to the island because it's a no-brainer. Turtles in Time.
It is a no-brainer, but I wouldn't say that it's the greatest game on the Super Nintendo. I think we'll have to reserve that title for the next game on the list, actually. But I would say that this is a great one.
What?
I'd say, another beat 'em up. There might be people out there saying another beat 'em up because you're bringing 3 beat 'em ups. I say, well, Dan brought Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That we all can agree that was a questionable choice.
Which is not a beat 'em up, so there's only 2 on the list.
And, Knights of the Round has a really big sentimental place in both of our hearts.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think that this is the beat 'em up that goes out there that almost everybody, unless you like hate beat 'em ups for some reason, almost everybody is going to be putting this one on their top 15 Desert Island list. It's a great game. It has a great co-op. It is fun. It's got
that soundtrack.
A phenomenal soundtrack, great sprites, an interesting story that is a little incomprehensible at times, but at least
if you're Jordan, you care about that.
It takes you some fun, different places. This is a great one. This has to be on our list.
Yeah. So for me, like this game, I come back to this retro game more than most games on my shelf. I probably play this one like at least once a year. which is not the case for most of my retro games. I don't know, man. It's arguably the best Ninja Turtles game of all time, certainly in the conversation. I don't know. Why wouldn't you bring Turtles in Time if you had the choice?
See, I'm not like as head over heels in love with this game as you are. It's not even my favorite beat 'em up game like it is yours, but it is a great game, and I can see why you want to bring it. And I think that this is a game that, like I said, the vast majority of people would want to bring.
What is your favorite beat 'em up game?
I'm not going to tell you because you're just going to be mean about it. And,
you're talking The Avengers. At least it's the Genesis version, yeah? Or the arcade version?
We're talking about arcade versions. There are so many better beat 'em up games.
Fair enough.
If we're talking about Super Nintendo or like 16-bit games, like then we can have a debate about it. But when you say like this is the best Turtles game of all time, I hope you're not talking about specifically the Super Nintendo port because you're just being silly at that point.
I mean, no, whatever. Consoles is kind of what I was.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talking about
when you start looking at the arcade beat 'em up games that were coming out around this time, like you play the games on the Capcom beat 'em up bundle, and you're like, holy cow, there were obviously much better beat 'em ups out there. But for us as kids playing on consoles, like this is up there. This is up near the top for sure.
Yeah, I think I might like the Super Nintendo port better than the arcade version of this one. I feel like that's how I felt when we covered the arcade 1-up cabinet on the show.
You might have felt that way, but you have to remember standing at a giant Konami big box arcade machine with 3 of your friends. Your hands are covered in pizza grease and Parmesan cheese, and you're just having a blast. And you can't replicate that in 2 players on a Super Nintendo.
All I remember is the 2 of us grown men in front of my arcade 1-up.
Yeah.
Hands brushing each other because the thing is so small.
Well, see, this is the problem.
Playing Turtles in Time.
Our hands brushing each other wouldn't have been a big deal if you would have let me grease up my hand with pizza grease, and then we would have slid by each other so much better. The fact that you made me wash my hands before I could play the game totally destroyed the aesthetic feeling of the game.
Of course.
All right.
Turtles in Time's a no-brainer.
It's a great one. Let's move on to our final game on our Desert Island list. It is Tetris and Dr. Mario. We both picked this one, and it's an obvious choice. It is one of, if not the best multiplayer game on the system. It is one of, if not the best single-player game on the system.
Okay.
Infinite replayability. You get 2 amazing all-time Hall of Fame great games in one, and you get like a third mode that mashes them both together. Yeah. There is no reason that if you are going to be stuck on a desert island and you get to pick some games ahead of time that you aren't bringing this game. You can hear me espouse all of my love for this game back in episode 54 where we covered Tetris and Dr. Mario, and we should have just wrapped it up.
Oh my goodness.
Threw in the towel because we had done it. We had covered the best one. What's the purpose in covering any more? Yes, I'm being hyperbolic to kind of mock Dan for the way that he was talking effusively about Ninja Turtles, but this is a great game. I do like it a lot.
Don't even act like my fawning over Ninja Turtles had anything to do with anything that you just said, because you would have said it anyways.
I probably would have. I'm not being 100% genuine. I do really love this game. I think it's a great game that should be on your list. I don't know that it's the greatest game, but also likewise, I'm not sure that you really truly believe that Turtles in Time is the best Super Nintendo game.
Maybe that's another episode for another day. What is our favorite? And that might be too similar to Desert Island.
You can't do that.
What is our favorite console games? If we had a Two-Face, Dan and Jordan, Batman's Two-Face, that is, cartridge, this would be it. You're a big Tetris guy. I like Dr. Mario. They got mashed together in one cartridge. And this is kind of like chocolate and peanut butter. Yeah. It's just 2 things that should be in the same cartridge together. It's got that nice versus mode where you can kind of mix and match the stuff, and it's good. These are 2 of the greatest puzzle games of all time, and that's not a bad thing to have on a desert island. There's a lot of replay value with the puzzle game.
Infinite replay.
You might recall, I think, from the Tetris Dr. Mario episode that Jordan is a semi-amateur professional Tetris player.
Yeah,
I think he's since retired.
I have. The app stopped paying out money in volumes that was worth playing, so I have retired from Tetris Prime Time, although I will always have that like $50 or whatever I made on it. So actually I won't always have it because that's not how money works. You spend it and then it's gone. So
they went from paying out $1 randomly to like
No.
15 people that did well.
No,
If you did well, you haven't. I never won anything.
Whatever.
I tried it, but I didn't.
You just needed to
didn't
get
go
good.
anywhere.
Anyway, that rounds out our list. We do have a few honorable mentions of games that we considered, but just didn't quite make the list. So we'll briefly touch on some of
Yes. So these honorable mentions are going to be like, wait a minute, that's an honorable mention instead of actually being on the list for some of you guys. You put Power Rangers on the list instead of like literally all of these games. Yes, I did. I had to do me.
Mind-boggling. It boggles the mind.
It does boggle the mind. So some of these games are like, yeah, that should be on the list, but if I'm making a list that is representative of me personally,
this is the problem, you guys.
The Power Rangers pick it was the last game that I put on the list, I think. And I was like, I gotta do it. I have to do it. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Interesting. This is the problem, you guys. Dan failed the Santa principle. And you might say, what is the Santa principle? And that's when you make a list.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to check it twice.
Okay.
And Dan didn't. He didn't check it twice. He made his list, and then he got to the bottom and he was like, oh, look at these 5 phenomenal honorable mentions, and I'm just going to leave them all down there instead of doing the right thing and not even making Power Rangers an honorable mention because it doesn't even deserve that honor. All right, let's move on.
You stop it.
We're not going to keep rehashing this.
Stop it.
Let's take a look at these honorable mentions also in alphabetical order.
Yeah. So I did check my list twice, Jordan.
Stop it.
The initial thing. So we both did like a brain dump of a list, and you're like, I agree with these picks. I'm bringing these. I don't agree with Power Rangers. And I was like, what do you guys think, Discord? Shout out to our friend Mateus, who's like, I'm bringing Power Rangers the movie. I was like, yes.
Yeah, whoever said that was just trolling you. Nobody actually thought this game deserved. Okay, whatever. Let's do our honorable mentions.
Let's do it. So first on this list is yet another like, oh yeah, I mean, in an ideal world where 2006 game prices are the thing that we're going off of, why wouldn't you bring Chrono Trigger? It's a well-loved RPG. I don't know how long it is. I didn't look up how long to beat, but Chrono Trigger. This is a game that people like.
This is another tomato thing. I've never actually heard anybody say the name of this game, but I always thought it was Chrono Trigger.
Well, you think it's Ocarina of Time, but we're not going to have that conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know anything about this game.
Siri told you otherwise.
I don't know anything about this game other than the fact that everybody loves it and it costs a fortune. So I think it would be worth checking out. I'm going to be really disappointed that I'm not going to get to check it out because Dan brought freaking
Power Rangers.
A game that takes like 10 minutes and you're sick of it instead of Chrono Trigger, which is a 23-hour game, 44 and a half hours completionist.
You got the how long to beat time.
So yeah,
shout out to howlongtobeat.com.
Yeah, great website.
It's useful.
Price charting tells us how much stuff costs.
Jordan,
how long to beat tells us how long stuff
you're ruining my
takes to
trivia.
beat.
Don't look up stuff.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to look up any
stuff. You already ruined it.
I didn't go to price charting. I just mentioned it. It's not like the boogeyman. You don't just like say
what?
Damn. Tomato, ocarina, Chrono Trigger, boogeyman. All right?
Fair enough. That's a new one for me. I've never heard that pronunciation, but
I've been watching tomato. Listen, I've been watching a lot of Doctor Who. And not just the new stuff. I've been watching like the old stuff from the 50s, 60s, and 70s too. And I may be picking up some. It's like my niece. She's 3 and she watches Peppa Pig and she keeps saying bathing costume instead of bathing suit. It's just a thing. You watch British TV and then all of a sudden you say boogeyman.
All right. Well, I'm glad it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Because that's new. New idea. But yes, Chrono Trigger in the same vein as like a Final Fantasy VI. I'm like, yeah. I've actually played some of Chrono Trigger. I have the PS1 Classic and my PS3 and my Vita. So I've put a couple, maybe two-ish plus 3 hours, 4 hours. I don't know. I've started Chrono Trigger.
All right. Which means like in a JRPG, you probably made it through the first couple cutscenes.
I made it like through probably the tutorial.
All right. Next up on our list is a game that we've covered. It is Contra 3. Contra 3.
Mm-hmm. So we put Sunset Riders on the list as like our Contra. But if you wanted like another Contra game, Contra 3 is great. It's just insane. It's like really hard and completely brutal. And I feel like Sunset Riders, I don't know if it's just more balanced or what, but I feel like Sunset Riders is a better game than Contra 3 overall.
It's got a better theme for being stuck on a desert island. I don't know if I want like the bleakness of Contra 3, which by the way, we covered all the way back in episode 5. So if you want a trip down memory lane, I'm sure things were a little bit rough still back in episode 5, but we did cover that one.
Yeah, I remember there's just things about Contra 3 that I'm like, I didn't like that about that game. Like that's how I'm feeling about Contra is like, whereas Sunset Riders, I feel is a lot more like, oh man, that's a game that I could play more of, like literally right now.
Yep, totally agree.
But Contra 3 is still a great game, and definitely a top 20 choice.
It's worthy of an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Next up on our list is Donkey Kong Country 2, which Dan originally had. He wasn't sure if we are going to go with 1 or 2,
Yes.
and we tipped towards 1 just because that's the one that I've played.
Yeah, so I suspect that Donkey Kong Country 2 is probably a better game. Because the first one's great, and then the second one I think just builds on it. You have Dixie Kong. She can like hover. And
see, I don't like when they start adding tertiary characters. It's like, what happened to Donkey Kong? He's not even in this game.
Didn't he get captured or something?
I'm
I
sure
think he might have got
did.
kidnapped.
It's Nintendo formula. Somebody gets captured,
He
and
got
you gotta go
kidnapped,
save him.
but they added like some interesting coins and like some new collectible coins. You got the DK coins to collect in addition to like they added a bunch of systems. It just feels like it's probably a better game. Again, at some point on the show, we're gonna cover Donkey Kong Country 2. As of today, though, Donkey Kong Country's got to be on the list above this one, but they're both great.
Yes. Next up on our honorable mentions is Mega Man X, Mega Man 10. How do you say this?
Mega Man X, Jordan.
Okay.
Mega Man 10 is actually called Mega Man 10.
Okay.
It's not like iPhones where they're like, oh, iPhone X,
Yeah.
but it's actually iPhone 10.
10,
No,
yeah.
The X franchise.
This is a Dan pick. I don't know anything about Mega Man X. You know, if you've listened to this podcast, that Mega Man is a game that just is beyond comprehension to me. So, Dan, take it away. Why is this an honorable mention?
You know, it's interesting that you say that specifically, talking about it being beyond comprehension. So in the last year, I've been doing some streaming.
You have.
And in a couple of the games I've gravitated towards, Mega Man 9, Mega Man 6. And my idea of mastering these games has been forcing myself to learn how to beat them without dying.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to try to beat a Mega Man game without dying, you're going to be replaying it over and over and over and over and over again. And I feel like in doing that with a couple different Mega Man games, I finally understood Mega Man in a way that I didn't as a child.
It's like you started to see The Matrix.
Well, kind of. You start to see that this is a game that is meant to be replayed. There is an order that is probably optimal. Where you jump into that order may or may not be optimal. Sometimes, just depending on certain boss weaknesses and stuff like that. But Mega Man X is way more interesting to me now that I understand the Mega Man franchise a little bit differently, that it's meant to be replayed and you're meant to find like optimal routes. And it's kind of like a speedrunner, like no death sort of game that lends itself really well to being replayed over and over and over again and learning the game. So when
That's
I was
good
like,
for a desert island.
Yeah. So when I've never really played much of the Mega Man X franchise. I have Mega Man X. It's like, I think the only X game that I own physically. I'm going to get the Mega Man X collection after playing Mega Man X, doing my homework for this desert island list. But when I was playing Mega Man X, I was like, absolutely. I need more of this in my life. I like this game.
He loved it so much that he left it off the list in favor of a truly milquetoast mediocre Power Rangers
Well,
game.
the thing, that's another one of those Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country things where I'm like, okay, I know that this is good. I know there's something here. But for me personally, with my own experience in games that I'm pretty familiar with beyond like Final Fantasy or whatever, I'm like, I can't necessarily commit to this. But there's a good shot that in a year, 2 years, whenever I get around to mastering Mega Man X, because I do want to I think I do want to go all out and like learn this one, but I think it's like 4 hours long. So I don't know if I want to go all out and learn this one to like no death it, but it might find its way on my personal desert island list at some point in my life.
All right, our final honorable mention is NBA Jam Tournament Edition, which is another game that we've covered on the show. It's another arcade sports game. I personally went with NHL 94 because I'm more of a hockey guy, but I can totally see the allure of NBA Jam Tournament Edition, which we covered back in episode 22. It's a really fun game. You have simple gameplay mechanics, but it just really like pulls you in, and it has some awesome co-op because you just end up screaming and you're having fun.
Yeah.
And this game has a lot of depth to it too, with all the Tournament Edition stuff, which we cover in the episode. There's just a lot here to like.
Yeah, I think this game is good with a co-op buddy. Like,
Yeah.
I played it to see if I'm like, am I bringing NBA Jam? Like initially I was like, NBA Jam makes the cut. And then I played it and I was like, man, I feel like there are just other games that I would put above this one.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
Which you did.
I sure did. But if you're in the mood to play a game without music for most of the time, NBA Jam certainly. It was just one of those things where I was like, yeah, okay. This is good. It's good to play with a friend, but
Yeah.
I'm not feeling completely like positive about this game. But
that's one of the biggest strengths of arcade sports games is that they're great with friends, and one of their biggest weaknesses is that they're not a whole lot of fun by yourself.
unless you're me playing NHL hits, because then it's fun both ways.
Yeah. Well, you do you, man. All right. Well, that's it. That's our Desert Island list, our top 15 and our 5 honorable mentions. I'm sure that we left off your favorite game or you disagree with at least Dan. So let us know. Dan, no, I just can't see anybody agreeing with your hot take on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but it's,
Shout out to Mateus, who's agreeing with me right now.
it's like your own personal little teddy bear or something, so you got to have it.
All right, Jordan, let's move on to the rest of the show. So I can't really ask what you're going to pay for the experience that you had on the Desert Island with Dan with a list of 15 retro games. We don't have any trivia today, so I came up with some trivia today.
Ooh, I like it. This is a nice reversal.
Well, actually, what happened was I was like, this would be a fun trivia question. And then I found out you didn't have any trivia. So then I was like, I really have to do some trivia.
Yeah.
But now I think I might have to alter the deal a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Pray that I don't alter it further.
Oh, that's my favorite quote from Batman.
That is a quote
It's Darth
from
Vader. I know.
No, it's actually from Robot Chicken.
I forgot that Robot Chicken invented Star Wars and then they went back and made the movies. I always forget that.
Jordan, my question for you, my trivia, and you know the answer, so I might have to like go for number 1 and number 2. Let's just call it that. Okay. What are the 2 of the 20 games we just talked about? What are the 2 most worthless games on the list?
Oh.
By worth it or worthless standards.
Like because they're crazy expensive.
Yes. So according to pricecharting.com.
Yeah.
What are the 2 biggest candidates for worthless?
Okay.
Just sheerly based on price.
I'm going to have to say Chrono Trigger is got to be the most expensive one on the list because it always comes up. And, let's see. Just quickly looking through, I know the prices of some of these. Is Sunset Riders super expensive? I don't know. What's the second one?
Sunset Riders is super expensive, but it's not the second most expensive game on this list.
Is Chrono Trigger at least one of the 2?
Chrono Trigger is the first most expensive one.
All right, then I'll give me 3 shots.
Currently sitting at $213 for a copy of Chrono
Which
Trigger.
Isn't insane, you're right, as far as like when you're talking about like some games selling.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about like how crazy some of these games have gotten.
Yes, right, fair enough.
I'm going to say Final Fantasy 6/3 is the other one?
Nope.
Okay, I have no idea then.
So Final Fantasy 6 currently just sitting at a breezy $78.
That's expensive.
It's expensive, not the second most expensive. Jordan, second most expensive game on this list, Knights of the Round, currently sitting at $115.
Oh, see, okay, I knew it was around 100. I didn't realize it had creeped up above 100. Wow. Yeah, that's sad. The great thing about it is that it's on the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle.
Yeah.
It frequently goes on sale for like $5 to $10. That collection is totally worth it when it goes on sale, and there's a lot of good games on there. So that's a bummer that the Super Nintendo version for a physical copy is so expensive, but I'm glad that it's not like one of those games that's totally inaccessible.
Yeah. Retro game collectors, man.
It's crazy.
Telling you. Jordan, we got so we just sell, we're 3 now.
We're 3 years old.
As you said before, everything's dinosaurs. We're super into dinosaurs now that we're a nice 3-year-old toddler of a podcast.
Which we have since then, we've played Super Mario RPG, which has dinosaurs in it. So
yeah.
Because Yoshi is a dinosaur, and I would say Bowser's a dinosaur.
King Koopa, lizard.
Dinosaur.
Have you seen the movie Super Mario Brothers?
Oh, yeah.
This ain't no game. That's what the poster says.
All right, whatever.
We got an Augiversary bounty winner, Jordan. We were giving away a $35 North American eShop code.
Yes.
For we wanted opinions of people that disagreed.
Yeah, just real quick, just to let you know some of the answers that we got. A lot of people agreed with me on everything, so most of these are just about Dan.
Yeah,
really.
This list doesn't mention Jordan hardly at all.
People did disagree that they didn't like my opinion on Final Fantasy VII. Somebody said that No Mercy isn't the best N64 wrestling game. They like ECW Hardcore Revolution, whatever that means.
Whatever that means.
People were disappointed in our takes on Chicago Pizza, which actually led to a very long conversation on our Discord. Somebody said the Red Wings aren't the best, which is just actually a verifiable lie, and so I think we're gonna sue that person. Yeah. Oh, Emo Fergie doesn't like that Dan says mayo is good because mayo is just a garbage condiment. So those are just a few. But we went and drew a winner for our. Well, how much are we giving away? I want to make sure we say it right.
$35 North American eShop, because denominations, Nintendo's like, let's do 5 and 10 and 20, 35,
yes,
and 50.
So the winner of our $35 Augiversary giveaway is our friend Flea, and his specific disagreement with us was that he disagrees that Battletoads, just all of our opinions about Battletoads, except for we liked the in our bonus episode last year, we talked about how we liked the new Battletoads, so Flea doesn't disagree with that, but he says that the original Battletoads is a gem.
No, I'm pretty sure he's got to be trolling.
Yeah, there's
just no chance. Although I think I was having a conversation with him, and I think he was like, I like Battletoads, and I was like, nobody likes Battletoads. Like, there's just no chance.
Well, maybe
we all like the idea
in
of
a while.
Battletoads.
We all like the idea of it. That's the thing, is we do like the idea of Battletoads. So congratulations, Flea. You have won the big prize this month. If you're like, man, I wanted to win the big prize this month, well, don't worry, because right now you can submit an entry and you can get in on the ground floor and potentially win yourself our September SNES-tember giveaway.
Yeah. All right, we love doing these desert island lists.
Yep.
We also like to hear what you guys would bring to the desert island.
Yes.
So that is our bounty that you can enter this month, is to let us know what your top 5 desert island Super Nintendo games would be. And you have the chance to win a Super Nintendo copy of Turtles in Time, the best Super Nintendo game. If you could only bring one Super Nintendo game to a desert island, this would probably be the one. It has nearly infinite replay value.
Okay.
Really, it has some of the best.
We've already done this.
Best characters.
Yep.
In the history of comics and
sorry,
cartoons.
Guys. He's really starting to go. He's repeating himself now.
This franchise is so good that Michael Bay put his stamp on it, which was also not only do we have Michael Bay giving us his take, but Pizza Hut and Sunkist also saw fit to sponsor the movie and be shouted out in the movie itself.
Anyway, you guys can win your very own copy of Turtles in Time, which is awesome. It's a good game, and all you have to do to enter is send us a direct message with your top 5 Super Nintendo Desert Island games. Maybe they're the same as ours. Maybe they're different than ours. You're going to send us a direct message on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can direct message Dan or I on Discord. You can find our social media at WIOW Podcast. You can also send us an email if that's your thing. You can email us at
worthitoworthlesspodcast@gmail.com.
Pretty much any way you can find to get a hold of us: carrier pigeon, fax machine, snail mail, smoke signals. Send us your top 5.
No.
Okay, mostly just the things I said before.
DM or email, Jordan. That's it. None of the other nonsense. The rules, as always, are are in the description in writing.
If you send me a snail mail with a $5 bill,
Nope,
I'll get you
no
on the
chance.
list. I'll get you on
no
the list.
chance. No.
All right.
I'll take you off the list if you do that.
Don't forget, every month you can...
Although we would accept snail mail. If somebody in theory could send you their entry through snail mail, you have to directly contact us.
Yeah, sure.
That's the main thing we're trying to get at.
Yeah. As we say every month, you can always earn additional bounty entries. I will say, in the past, we've had some people win with their additional bounty entries. This month was just a straight up direct message bounty entry that won. Mm-hmm. So congratulations, Flea, on sending us that DM. If you want to earn those additional bonus entries, all you have to do is join us on our Discord server. There's a whole bunch of people in there. We like to talk about retro games. We like to talk about all sorts of stuff that's going on in the gaming world and just in life in general. It's a great group of people. It's a great community, so you can find our Discord invitation link in the description of this podcast. You can also find it on our social media. Hop in there, just chat, and the bot will level you up. And when you level up, you get extra bonus entries, up to 3 additional ones each month. And that could help you win a very own copy of Turtles in Time. So enter the bounty, you people. It's free stuff. Who doesn't like free stuff?
If you were starting a Super Nintendo collection and you could only have one game that you could play,
that's sad. Why would you do that to people? Don't make them only have one game.
Second great one would be Super Mario World.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. You got more? Is there any more?
Well, we got some announcements.
Jordan. I love announcements.
For people that are listening to this in a timely fashion. We already mentioned the next episode, Super Mario RPG.
Yes.
That'll be out in 2 weeks. Before the Super Mario RPG episode, I think comes out, on the 28th of September, Jordan, we're trying a new like community event thing. On the 25th of September, 2021, when this is coming out, we're trying to do like a retro gaming hunt day adventure thing / stream.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, I was thinking to myself, I haven't like been on like a good retro game hunt where I've driven around my state to different places and just used a bunch of gas and just went to a bunch of different retro game shops.
This doesn't sound environmentally friendly, Dan.
Okay. Well, maybe it's not, but neither is...
You could take public transportation.
CryptoCoin, Jordan.
You could ride your bike. It's
fine.
You
ever heard of CryptoCoin? I can't ride my bike the kinds of distances.
No, I'm not saying you, Dan. I'm just saying the general audience. You don't have to.
There's no rules really. What you said have to do. I said what I was going to be doing.
You said you were going to get in your salvage barge and burn crude oil. Anyway, go pick up some games.
Anyways, so yeah, the 25th, we're doing just like a worldwide. If that's your thing, we're going to have like a community retro game hunt. And then we're going to try to throw together like a Zoom call / Twitch stream where we talk about our retro gaming pickups together.
Yes. It's always fun to see on Discord people come in and are like, look what I found today.
Yeah.
And we want to have everybody have a look what I found today together on the 25th of September.
And have like a nice conversation about it. So yeah, join us for that if you're interested on the 25th. I think the stream is going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, twitch.tv/worthitoworthless. If you just want to watch and hang out and like listen to the conversation, or if you want to join us, we're probably going to do RSVPs or something on Discord. So probably hop in there, or maybe send us a DM or something if you're interested. But you don't want to join us on Discord. This is like an idea that's in my head. I'm like, how are we going to do this? I don't know all the details. We're going to do it. We want to celebrate retro gaming worldwide. So this is a fun way to do it.
And for those of you who are time traveling or binge listening in the future, it is currently 2021, September 25th, 2021 is what we're talking about. So if you're in the future and you're listening to this, check out our newest episode and see what kind of fun stuff we got cooking up in the future. I don't even know what fun stuff we have cooking up in the future, so you will know more than current day me does.
Yep. It's whatever I drag Jordan by the collar, kicking and screaming into.
Which is really rude because I have a broken hip right now, and it's kind of rude to drag your broken friends around.
Well, I'm not dragging you anywhere.
You just said you were going to grab my collar and drag me off this couch.
Metaphorically speaking?
Okay, well, you need to be more specific. I'm a very literal person.
All right, my friend. I think that is all that we have. Do you have anything before the music segment?
I think that's going to do it. I thank you guys for listening, as always, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Speaking of Super Nintendo music, Jordan, we have a Donkey Kong Country song called Aquatic Ambience. It's one of those classics.
Very fitting.
Off of an album that I specifically chose because it's a Super Nintendo episode. It's Super Lo-Fi World.
Super Lo-Fi World.
So, Aquatic Ambience. Helen, Super Lo-Fi World. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we will see you in 2 weeks for Super Mario RPG.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.